honor, glory to the Most High God, Yah only, man. No JC, no NT. And today we're going to dive into the timeline of the New Testament and dive into who was the first author of the New Testament. Who was the first author of the New Testament, man? So this is going to be a good one. We're going to talk about the timeline of the New Testament. What you got?
There's no solid historical evidence that the four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, were written by the individuals whose names they bear. And just to dumb it down for you guys, he's talking about, you know, saying the actual names of the damn books.
Right.
So, furthermore, were written by the individuals of those names they bear. Here's a concise breakdown of the scholarly consensus and reasons. One, the Gospels are anonymous.
The Gospels were anonymous to begin with. They didn't have no authorship.
None of the four Gospels identify their authors in text itself.
See that? It was anonymous. They don't know who wrote the Gospels. They don't know who wrote the Gospels. What you got?
The names, the Gospels, according to Matthew, etc., that's we're giving an example, because we don't know. We're just going by what it says, were added later, likely in the 2nd century CE, by early church tradition, not the original authors.
Not the original authors. You know why? Because they don't know who wrote the Gospels.
Right.
They don't know. You got point number 2.
Point number 2, attribution came later.
Way later, man.
Early church leaders like Papyrus and during the time of 120 through 140 CE, and Irenaeus, which is in 180 CE, began assigning names to the Gospels. These attributes are based on hearsay, not direct evidence. Papyrus himself said he didn't hear the apostles directly.
He didn't hear the Gospels directly.
Here we go, let me do it. Papyrus himself said he didn't hear the apostles directly.
He didn't hear the Gospels directly. What more can we say? Right?
3.
What more can we say? Go ahead.
3. Language and style shown they weren't eyewitnesses.
Language and style showed that they were not eyewitnesses. They were not eyewitness accounts.
Right. The Gospels were written in educated Koine Greek, not Aramaic or Hebrew.
They were written in Koine Greek, not Hebrew, not Aramaic, man. These are all red flags that you got to take into consideration. What you got?
And furthermore, they often quote the Greek Septuagint, not the original Hebrew scripts.
Say that again.
They often quote the Greek Septuagint, not the original Hebrew scripts.
They often quote the Greek Septuagint, the LXX, right? That's another red flag you got to think about, right? Why are they quoting the LXX?
Right.
Right, and not the original Hebrew. Yeah.
They reflect a later time period with knowledge of events like the destruction of the temple in 70 CE, especially in Mark 13 and Luke 21.
Right, next point.
4. Contradictions between Gospels, the difference in timelines, geography, sayings, and theological emphasis suggest multiple sources, not a single eyewitness memory.
See that? Red flag, man. Another red flag that none of y'all take into consideration, but you got to.
Right.
After you hear this, you got to. You got to look into it yourself and put the pieces together and do the math, man. It's not adding up.
Right, and it's real questionable and suspect.
Real questionable.
For example, compare genealogies Matthew 1 versus Luke 3. Resurrection accounts or J-Do, late words.
Last words.
Last words, my fault, Salakia.
Right, so they're all different accounts.
Right.
Now, one might say, if there was a car accident, there might be 4 witnesses that have different accounts, but no. These are big contradictions, man.
Big gaps.
Big gaps, big contradictions. We're gonna show you, read.
5, scholars view them as theological, not
theological,
not historical.
Theological and not historical.
There's a difference, though.
Big difference. Big difference.
By biographies, scholars categorize the Gospels as ancient Greco-Roman biography, Salakia, and mixed, watch this, and mixed with theology and oral tradition. Not modern history. I'm going to say that again. Not modern historical reports.
Right.
The writers were shaping narratives for faith. This is crazy because you can't make this shit up. Communities, decades after the events.
Decades after the events. Right?
That's a long gap.
Later.
That's a long gap.
A long gap. Decades later. We're going to dive into that timeline. What you got?
Here's the chronological order of New Testament books with approximate years after. Now check this out. Pete Gang, I'm about to explain it to the brothers, about to, explain it itself. By after Jesus' death.
After his death. After. And we're going to see who the first author was of this Greek New Testament. We're going to see.
Now pay attention. This is the order. You got to pay attention. First Thessalonians.
First Thessalonians.
Was in 49 through 51 CE.
Yep.
20 years later.
20 years later. That means Paul, who according to the New Testament, it is a chronological order, came way later. But for some reason, he got the first book of this New Testament.
And how does that happen?
How does that happen? How? Right? That's before the Gospels. You mean to tell me First Thessalonians came before the Gospels? How? Somebody got some explaining to do.
Put it in the comment section if you know something we don't know.
Right.
But here we go. We're going to go with first. Now, the second one was Galatians. The second book in the actual order was Galatians from 50 to 55 CE, 20 to 25 years later.
Crazy. So Paul is the author of the first 2 books of the New Testament. How? Paul wasn't a witness according to the New Testament history. Paul wasn't even a witness, so how did he got the first 2 books?
Right. How?
They're going to say because JC came down to him.
Oh, yeah, and revealed it to him.
Revealed it to him. He taught him the mysteries. That's what he going to say.
That's all they can say.
That's all they're going to say. What you got?
But this is 1 Corinthians. That's going to be the third one. 1 Corinthians. And that was during the period of 53 to 55 CE, 23 to 25 years later.
Yeah, that's 1 Corinthians and 2 Corinthians, right?
1 year later after the 2 Corinthians, but we can say 55 to 56 CE, which is 25 to 26, which is a year separate from 1 Corinthians. Right. Romans is number 5. The one that you guys like to go to a lot.
Your favorite book, Romans chapter 9.
Right. That's the favorite. 56 to 58 CE, which is 26 to 28 years later, which is a 2-year gap.
Right.
6 is Philemon, 58 through 60 CE, which is another 2-year gap, 28 to 30 years later.
Yep.
Philippians is number 7, 59 to 61 CE, which is a 2-year gap. Colossians, 60 to 62 CE, which would be literally, if you're talking about from, Philippians, it would be a 3-year gap, but it just says 2 though. It would be 2 actually, because of the time it was finished. Now, number 9 is Ephesians, 60 to 62 CE, 30 to 32 years later. Now, this is the part that mess you up. What was the first one? If you guys can remember in the comments what the first one we said, you were saying We'll throw you something, man. We'll throw you something. But anyways, Second Thessalonians, 62 to 64 CE. It's a 2-year gap, 32 to 34 years later. James.
Now James become the second author of the New Testament according to the timeline. You got it.
63 to 65 CE. 33 to 35 years later, which is a 2-year bridge gap.
Right, now we're going to get to the Gospels, right?
And this is the
Now
first
we're gonna
one.
Get to the Gospels, right?
According to the chronological order.
Yeah.
This is what it's really supposed to be like. 12, and this is number 12. Mark. First gospel. From 65 to 70 CE, 35 to /40, it's a 5-year gap to 40 years later.
And Mark was not an eyewitness.
Right.
Mark was
Never
not an
was.
eyewitness.
He never was.
He never was. So Mark, by the timeline, wrote the first gospel about 65 to 70 CE, right? So around the time of the destruction of the temple, right? So what did that tell you? If the temple was destroyed in 70 CE or 70 AD, however you want to put it,
Before the Gospels.
that means that the other gospels came after the destruction.
I'm just saying
right?
that you gotta make it make sense, man. That
During
don't.
a terrible, terrible time, right? Keep reading.
The 13th is Hebrews, and we don't even know the author from
I don't
that.
even know the author of Hebrews.
But anyways, so like here, 66. Oh, this is a long timeline. Good Lord. It says 66 to 70 CE. I think this is the longest I've seen so far.
Right.
That's a 6 year. That's a 6 year. That's crazy. That's a 4 to 5 year gap. That's crazy. And now we're going to 14, which is
36 to 40 years later. This is after. This is years later, right?
and this is what you guys start off with. This is what you guys start out. This is what
Right.
you NT start out with.
Right. That.
Matthew 70 through, and that's a 10-year gap right there. You guys gotta make it make sense, man. You guys gotta make it make sense, man. Seriously, man. From 70 to 80 CE, which is a 10-year gap, 40 to 50 years.
40 to 50 years
You gotta-
later.
and that's crazy.
Later. This is later.
That's what I'm saying. You guys gotta make this make sense, man.
Right.
The next one that you guys cleave to, 15 is Luke. 70, ooh, shucks, man. This is a 20-year one, man.
Right.
It's getting more crazier than every time I read the. But anyways, 70 to 90 CE, which is 40 to 60 years. That's a 20-year gap, man.
40 to 60 years later. Later. Right?
That's the biggest one, I
These
think.
are the book that you guys are holding near and dear. Right? The first author is Paul. How? So when they date back, Paul's letters are the first books of this Greek New Testament, Christian Testament, man. What you got?
It's gonna be number 16 is Acts. The historian, and I mean I don't even know why this is in this order though. You know what I'm saying, depending on how they worded it. But anyways, it says 80 to 90 CE, 50 to 60 years later.
50 to 60 years later. That's crazy, right? What you got? We're going to slide.
We're just gonna keep on going, man. 17 is gonna be 1 Peter, 80 to 90 CE, 50 to 60 year later, and it says Jude is number 18, 85 to 95 CE, 55 through 65 years later. 19 John, 90 to 100 CE, 60 through 70 years later.
60 to 70 years later, man. Right, this is way after, man. What you got?
1 John, and it says 90 to 100 CE, 60 through 70 years later. 21, 2 John, 100 to 110 CE through 70 to 80 years later. 3 John, 100 to 110 CE, 70 to 80 years later. Second, now this is what I don't understand. Second Peter came at least, I'm serious, man, like 30 years after First Peter.
Right.
This don't make no sense, man.
No sense.
But anyways, Second Peter, you know what I'm saying? 110 to 130 CE, 80 to 100 years later. And the last one that you guys, you know what I'm saying, bounded, you know what I'm saying, never give up.
Right.
Revelations.
Revelation. Good old Revelation. Yeah. Right.
95 through 100 CE, 65 to 70 years later.
That is a crazy order.
That's a crazy flip.
Right.
That's all I can read. That's a crazy flip, man. That's what they say in the East Coast. But anyways, Paul's letters predate all the Gospels. There was no written life of J. Dude yet. Mark is the first Gospel. Matthew and Luke copy from it.
Which makes no sense because Matthew is supposedly an eyewitness.
Right, and then supposed to be according to you guys' Chronology. I mean, I'm just saying. Hey, this don't make no sense to me. I'm trying to make it make sense, but this ain't making no sense, man.
Making no sense, man.
But anyways, you know this, and the Most High is not the author of confusion. Isn't that what you guys? Isn't that what you guys say?
According to y'all book.
But anyways, man, look, we're gonna stop. We're gonna stop nitpicking on that. But anyways, John is the last gospel, very different in style and theology.
Yep.
Second Peter, and this is the one I was tripping off of because why is it all the way on the bottom? But anyways, it's likely the latest book. I'm gonna say the latest book, not written by Peter himself.
Not written by Peter himself, right? And there's a lot of books of the New Testament that they was gonna reject when they had that council. There's a lot of books that they were gonna reject, including Revelations.
Right.
Yeah.
Major points that may be overlooked. Paul's letters are the earliest writings in the New Testament, yet they contain almost none, and I'm gonna say it again, none of the famous gospel stories about the J-Dude.
J-Dude. So Paul is the earliest writer, and he doesn't contain a lot of the important things that's written in the Gospels. Look at that.
What Paul does mention,
Doesn't mention.
he does what Paul doesn't mention. Despite writing first, Paul wrote between 49 and 67 CE, a full 10 to 40 years before the Gospels yet. No virgin birth.
No virgin birth.
No Bethlehem or Nazareth.
No Bethlehem or Nazareth.
No shepherds.
No shepherds.
No Magi.
No Magi.
Or Herod.
No Herod.
No miracles.
No miracles.
And I'm going to explain. No turning water into wine. No walking on water.
So you mean to tell me Paul, the first author of the New Testament, didn't write about none of this? What you got, man?
Sound like a magician. But anyways, man. We're gonna keep on going. And it says, no parables.
No parables.
No exorcism.
No exorcisms.
No teaching like the Sermon on the Mountain.
No sermon.
According to you guys, that's correct. Anyways, no baptism by John.
No baptism by John.
No transfiguration.
No transfiguration.
No crucifixion.
Yep.
Narrative.
Yep.
Talking about the wit. But anyways, he mentions the fact of crucifixion, but gives no story.
No backstory.
That's all I was going to try to say. You know, because it never details. But anyways, we're gonna keep on going. And it says, no resurrection appearances in the narrative form. No empty tomb.
This is big. This is huge, bro. Pause. This is.
There's a lot of holes in this one, man.
This is great, man.
It's a lot of holes.
Great. Right? What else you got on there?
Oh, it says, man. So what does Paul talk about?
What does Paul actually talk about then?
Mostly theology.
Mostly theology.
Not biography, though.
Not biography.
Just to let you know that, man. He talks about theology, but not biography, okay? Now, he refers to the J-Dude as crucified and raised, but not how or where. We don't have no location.
So that means that these stories came later, man. That if Paul's the first author and he didn't write about none of that, that means they came later. Right? You gotta deal with that.
The J-Dude as a heavenly figure, now exalted.
Right now he's exalted.
Both statement like vague statement like born of a woman, born under the law, according to Galatians 4:4, descendants from David, according to Rome, Romans 1, that's their favorite what's called too though. 1 and 3. No mention of Bethlehem though.
None.
Isn't that where he's from? But anyways,
y'all use Micah 5, right? You butcher and isolate Micah 5 to prove that he is that ruler of Judah, right? But the first author, Paul, didn't write about Bethlehem at all. What you got?
Not at all. His J-Dude is more cosmetic than historical. A divine figure revealed through visions and revelations. Sound like John the Revelator.
He's more cosmic. He's more cosmic. He's more cosmic, right? Cosmic.
Little interest in the J-Dude. Earthly life. Paul never met him physically.
At all.
Let me say that one more time. Paul never met him physically. I gotta say it one more time. I'm sorry. Paul never met the J-Dude physically.
At all.
At all. At all.
Yep.
What this tells us, the gospel narratives developed after Paul.
They did what?
Developed after Paul. Not before, after Paul.
Yeah.
The idea of wise men, which is in you guys' story in Matthew, but anyways, we'll talk about that on another time. The idea of wise men, virgin birth, and miracles was added later. They were added later by the gospel writers decades later.
How long?
Decades later.
Decades later.
That's terrible, man. Paul's silence on these stories suggested they didn't yet exist in writing form.
That's in written form.
So like in written form or at all.
Or at all.
Paul's J-Dude is theological, not biological.
Theological, not biological.
He focuses on what J-Dude means, not what J-Dude did. He claims to have received the gospel. He should have been John the Revelator. I mean, this is what I'm looking at. It says he received the gospel by revelation. Is that how you guys got revelations? I mean, you just said, well, we're going to pick John. But anyways, Galatians 1:11 through 12.
Yep.
Not from eyewitnesses, the gospels fill in the gaps later. Ain't that funny? You're trying to fill in the gaps later.
Later.
Ain't that funny? You like, oh man, we messed up here. Let me put this in here. Let me put it in. They'll take that. They'll take that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Crazy.
That sound like, man, that sound like some being
Crazy.
That was real
Crazy.
slick though.
Crazy.
That was real slick, man. You deceived everybody though. You did a good job at it too.
For sure.
It really did though. And it says Mark in 70 CE is the first to write a life story. And even he begins with the J-Dude as an adult.
As what?
As an adult.
As an adult.
So what happened to his teenage years when he was
That's
12?
his birth.
I'm just saying what happened.
Why the first gospel don't mention his birth?
Right, I'm trying to figure that out, man. You just skip right to his manhood, or that.
Right.
That's crazy. Is that why you guys call him a man-child or something? I don't know. That's crazy though. Anyways, only Matthew and Luke, because this is what you guys messed up on. Only Matthew and Luke, written later, and added birth stories, virgin birth, and genealogy. Like the his bloodline.
Right.
Which is also messed up. Stay tuned.
That's his bloodline.
Stay tuned.
Right. So that's very, very strange, right?
Very, very questionable.
Very questionable, man.
That's all I can really tell you, man. It's under investigation. One of the most striking facts about the New Testament, the earliest gospel, Mark, ends abruptly with no resurrection appearance. This is crazy. The earliest gospel, Mark, ends abruptly with no resurrection appearance, no post-tomb encounters, and no triumphant conclusion.
At all.
That's terrible, man. That's a big old hole.
That's a hole.
What the what the original ending of Mark says in Mark 16 from the top all the way to the bottom, which is 8, earliest manuscripts stop here. Wow.
They do what?
They stop there.
They stop there.
Between Mark 16, 1 and through 8. That's terrible, man.
Crazy.
That's a big old hope, man. That's
Right.
terrible,
If you read
man.
the NIV, it'll have the rest of the scriptures in italics, meaning that it was added.
Right. It ain't the original. It ain't original.
Right.
It's real suspect, man. It's real suspect.
Very, very suspect.
The woman to the tomb, they find it empty. A young man, not J dude, tell them he is risen. So there's another dude that told that this is crazy.
Right.
Basically saying that it was a young man, wasn't the J guy you guys love, said that it was empty.
Contradiction to the rest of the gospel too.
That's some scheming stuff right there, man. That's real conniving. But anyways, he is risen. Tell his disciples, and he is going to Galilee. But instead, the woman flee in fear. They said nothing to anyone, and they were afraid. You can look that up in Mark, the 16th chapter and the 8th verse. If you really, want to look that up again for your text. That's it. No Jesus. No disciples, no touching wounds, no eating fish, no great commission. I mean, this is crazy, man. And this is supposed to be all in your doctrine. I don't know. Anyways,
No, he is risen.
No, he's risen. Scenes from Luke or John.
Right.
'Cause I know you guys love that John 3:16. Anyways,
Right. There's none of that in there. None of it's in there. None of it's in there. The first gospel don't have none of it in there. What you got?
and it says later resurrection stories were added.
Later resurrection.
They were added.
Later.
Because Mark ended so abruptly, late scribes felt, and this is how they felt. They went with their feelings. Felt the need to fix it. They knew they messed up. So they added Mark 16, the 9th verse, all the way to the 20th. That was added. Centuries later, though.
How long?
Centuries later.
Centuries later.
Not decades.
Centuries.
Centuries. What? Say that one more time.
Centuries.
Centuries later.
Centuries later, man. And that is big. That's big.
Mary Magdalene sees the J dude. J dude appears in the 11th. That is
To the
crazy.
11th.
To the 11th. Basically, you just said the chat. But anyways, check this out. He tells them to preach the baptism. That's crazy. He promises signs, cast out demons, speaking in tongues, surviving poison and snake bite.
Right. He promised that to his disciples.
Doesn't that sound familiar though? Doesn't that sound like that's been taken from some? Anyways, we'll talk about that later too though. But these verses don't exist. They don't exist in the early manuscripts. Codex Vaticanus, Codex Sinaiticus, and it says.
So in the earliest New Testament text, it's not there. It's not there. Yeah.
That's deception. But then it says style and vocabulary are very different from the rest of the book of Mark. Scholars overwhelmingly agree Mark 16. This is what scholars say. Just hear me out. Scholars overwhelmingly agree Mark 16 chapter 9 through 20 is a later addition. Those battery closed, forever closed. I wasn't going to say that, but I had to do it. But
They tried. She ran back and tried again.
no, I'm just saying the forever closed. I wouldn't say that either. But anyways, why this matters? The earliest gospels end with the fear and silence. This contradicts the triumphal resurrection seen in the Matthew, Luke, and John.
So it contradicts those because they don't got them.
It reflects an early stage of belief where the resurrection was proclaimed but not yet told as a story.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Post-resurrection scenes develop later.
The post-resurrection scene developed later, man.
Matthew added,
Yep.
and Galilee appearances. Luke moves it to Jerusalem. See what he did? He just forced it to go to Jerusalem. That's crazy. But anyways, moves it to Jerusalem and the road to Emmaus, meals and physical touch. John adds doubting Thomas. Is that where they get that thing from, Thomas? But anyways, breakfast by the sea, etc. The resurrection becomes more dramatic over time. Just like the birth stories, the resurrection stories evolve, becoming more detailed in the supernatural.
Right. And we could go even more further into that, right? Because the New Testament is fake, it's made up, it's plagiarism, right? It's a good fairy tale, man.
Greatest story ever told.
Greatest story ever told.
So I can really say about that, man, because everybody
everything that we presented, go ahead and look into that. And man, repent, return back to the Most High, Yah only, man. All praise to the Most High, GOZ, man. GOZ. Shalom.
Shalom.